All right, get ready for some Icelandic folklore, because today we're diving deep into a book called Gryla's Naughty List, a Yuletide tale of second chances.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah, we're talking ogres, Yule Lads, the whole bit. A very different kind of holiday spirit, Icelandic style.
And what I think is so interesting about this book in particular is how it takes these figures, Gryla and the Yule Lads, who are usually seen as kind of frightening and mischievous, and it reimagines them as forces for good. It makes you think about how traditions evolve
Yeah, for sure.
and what they say about us.
I'm intrigued, so set the scene for us. What's this book all about?
Well, this book dives headfirst into Icelandic Yuletide traditions, but with a twist. So we have Gryla, she's like the Icelandic Krampus, but way more ogreish, and her 13 sons, the Yule Lads. They come straight out of Icelandic folklore, and let's just say, they're not exactly known for good deeds.
Okay, 13 sons. I can only imagine Gryla has her hands full. So who exactly are these Yule Lads? Paint us a picture.
Each one is more mischievous than the last, and we're talking names like Sheepcoat Clod, Spoonlicker, Sausage Swiper, each with their own unique brand of mischief that they traditionally unleash in the 13 days leading up to Yule. Imagine the chaos.
Sausage Swiper. Okay. I'm already picturing all kinds of holiday shenanigans.
Yeah.
This book doesn't just focus on one Yule Lad, though, right?
No, it's their combined story, and what's so clever is that each Yule Lad gets a chapter where they try to modernize and spread goodwill, which is a pretty big departure from their usual antics.
Yeah.
Spreading goodwill, not exactly what you think of with the Yule Lads.
So instead of striking fear into the hearts of children, these Yule Lads are more like, what, agents of change?
Exactly. Like, take Stekjastar. He's the sheepcoat clod. Traditionally, he's all about harassing sheep.
Okay.
But in this book, he teaches a young boy named Jarni about compassion for animals. So it's a complete 180.
Wow, that's quite the role reversal.
Yeah.
What about the other Yule Lads? Do they all embrace this new, kinder, gentler approach?
They do. And each one brings their own unique flavor to it. You've got Gil Jaguar, who's usually all about guzzling milk, guiding a young girl named Inga towards the spirit of sharing.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Stufr, the tiniest Yule Lad, who shows a so-called lazy boy named Kari the satisfaction of helping others.
This is fascinating, but I have to ask, how does Gryla, the queen of Yuletide, fear herself react to her sons going soft?
Let's just say she is not pleased.
Oh, no.
This goes against everything she stands for. In fact, she's so distraught that she consults the hidden folk. Think of them as these wise, ancient beings of Icelandic folklore for advice.
Okay.
But in the end, she decides to take matters into her own hands, unleashing a massive snowstorm to thwart her son's efforts.
Wow, talk about a clash of old and new traditions. So does Gryla's plan work? Does the snowstorm put a stop to the Yule Lads' heartwarming efforts?
It backfires, actually.
It does.
Yeah. The snowstorm, it actually reveals the true strength of the Yule Lads' compassion.
So they don't just give up, they keep going, even with the blizzard and everything.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of being deterred by this storm, they band together, each using, their own unique abilities to help the children. It's actually really beautiful the way it depicts how the spirit of Yule, in this case, represented by kindness and resilience, can overcome even the toughest of obstacles.
Okay, I'm really starting to see why this book is so popular. Like, it's not just a fun holiday story. It has these deeper layers about, like, community and sticking to your values. But let's get back to Gryla. So she unleashes this massive snowstorm, and it backfires. What's her next move?
Well, seeing her son's unwavering dedication to kindness, even in the face of her anger, it triggers something in Gryla.
Okay.
It's subtle, but the author does this fantastic job of portraying her internal struggle. She starts questioning, everything. Everything she thought she knew about Yule, about her role, even about, her own identity.
Wow, it's like she's having this, crisis of conscience almost.
Exactly. And, remember those hidden folk that she consulted earlier?
Yeah.
Their words start to really sink in. They'd warned her that fear wasn't the only way, that true change, it came from a different place. Now she's seeing it firsthand, with her sons.
That's got to be a lot to process, especially, for an ogre, right? Like someone who's built her reputation on being scary and everything.
Yeah.
So what does this internal struggle look like for her? How is it depicted in the book?
So the book reveals these really poignant moments where we see these glimpses into Gryla's past. We learn that she wasn't always this hardened, fearsome figure. There's this one scene, it's really touching, where she remembers her own mother's kindness, and it makes her question the path she's chosen.
Wow, it's amazing how those early experiences can shape us, even, centuries later, as in Gryla's case. So We have the Yule Lads actively doing good, and then we have Gryla over here wrestling with her past and her beliefs. What happens next? How does this all come to a head?
Well, the snowstorm actually becomes a turning point. The Yule Lads, instead of backing down, they use their unique talents to help everyone through it. This act of defiance, this unwavering commitment to kindness, it finally gets through to Gryla. She sees her sons are genuinely happy, they're making a real difference, and it just starts to chip away at that, hardened exterior she's built up over the centuries.
This is incredible. So how is Gryla's transformation shown in the book? Does she have this big epiphany, one moment, and suddenly she's all warm and fuzzy?
It's actually handled really well.
Okay, good.
The author doesn't force a sudden unrealistic change on Gryla. It's a very gradual process.
Okay.
She still has her grumpy moments, she still struggles with her instincts. But little by little, we see her actions changing. She starts sharing stories with the children, offering wisdom instead of threats.
It's a much more believable, I think, relatable portrayal of how change actually happens, right? It's not this overnight thing.
Right, absolutely. And what's really beautiful is that the book highlights how even these small acts of kindness, they can have this ripple effect. As Gryla starts to soften, the whole village seems to embrace this new, more compassionate Yuletide spirit.
Oh, wow. It's like this shift in her perspective creates a shift in the whole community.
Precisely. And it reinforces this really powerful idea that traditions, they aren't set in stone. They can evolve. They can evolve to reflect our values, who we want to be.
That's such a great message. But what about the naughty list? Does that just disappear?
It does, in a sense. Gryla's transformation kind of makes the naughty list obsolete.
Okay.
She comes to believe in the inherent goodness of children, and she sees that real change comes from understanding and second chances, not fear and punishment.
So it's not just about, the absence of bad behavior, but the presence of good intentions and the opportunity for growth. But what about Gryla's role then? How does she fit into this new Yuletide world?
Yeah.
Without her naughty list. It's really something how this book takes a character who's the embodiment of Yuletide fear,
Yeah.
and turns her into the symbol of hope and compassion.
It is really interesting.
Makes you wonder if deep down she always had that in her. That capacity for warmth.
That's what I think makes her transformation so compelling.
Yeah.
It suggests that maybe we shouldn't be so quick to judge even, those figures we think of as purely frightening or antagonistic. There might be more to them than meets the eye.
For sure. So without the naughty list, without her fearsome reputation, what becomes of Gryla in this new Yuletide world?
Well, she finds a new purpose.
Okay.
One that actually aligns really well with her old role, but with this heartwarming twist.
Okay.
So the book depicts her as a keeper of Yuletide traditions.
Okay.
Sharing stories and wisdom with the children. She becomes this, respected elder, a source of guidance.
So instead of instilling fear, she's passing down the heart of these Yuletide traditions.
Exactly.
That's a pretty cool evolution.
It is. And it speaks to this idea that folklore, it's not static.
Right.
It's this living, breathing thing, and it can evolve with us. So that fear associated with Gryla and the Yule Lads, it's replaced by something, much more meaningful, like a sense of community.
Yeah.
Shared history, understanding that we all make mistakes, but we can learn and grow from them.
Such a powerful message, especially, today when traditions around the world are being re-examined and reinterpreted.
Yeah.
And it kind of tells us, that we don't have to be bound by these past interpretations of these traditions. We can find new meaning, new ways to celebrate them that reflect who we are today.
Precisely. And that's what I think this book does so well. It takes these familiar figures and it shows us that even they can change.
Yeah.
And by doing so, they inspire those around them to change as well. It's this beautiful depiction of how traditions can adapt to reflect our values and how we can kind of shape them to create, a more hopeful and compassionate world.
This has been such a great deep dive. We've explored Icelandic folklore, mischief, heartwarming transformations, and ultimately, the power of second chances. And it's clear that Gryla's naughty list, it's more than just a holiday story.
It is.
It's a story about self-discovery, the power of community, and the potential for changing ourselves and, the traditions that we hold dear. So listener, as you're enjoying this holiday season, perhaps you'll find yourself reflecting on the traditions that you cherish and how you might reinterpret them to, reflect your own values and hopes for a kinder, more compassionate world.